Admiral John Hayes stood alone at the viewport of the USF Deterrent. His tired eyes reflected the blue-white glow of Earth, hanging in the darkness of space. The old battle scars on his face told stories of fights won and lost over 30 years, of service. He rubbed the silver medal pinned to his chest, a reminder of what was at stake. Behind him, the door slid open with a soft hiss. The aliens entered. 6 tall, insect-like creatures from the Galactic Concordate stepped into the room. Their hard, shiny exoskeletons clicked as they moved. Their eyes, too many eyes, shifted and blinked in all directions. These were the Zilari, the leading species of the Concordate, a group of 27 alien races that ruled most of the known galaxy. Lieutenant Susan Miller, Hayes's second-in-command, walked quickly to his side. Her usual confident stride now seemed tense. "Admiral," she said quietly, handing him a datapad. "The Zilari ambassador wants another delay. The 3rd one this week." Hayes felt his jaw tighten. 6 long months of talks. 6 months of humans offering peace while the aliens made more and more unfair demands. They wanted Earth to give up its mining operations in deep space. They wanted Earth to get rid of most of its defense ships. They even wanted to place alien observers on every human colony. "No more delays," Hayes said firmly. "Tell them they have 30 minutes to give us their final terms. Not 1 minute more." Miller nodded and walked away. Hayes turned back to look at Earth through the viewport. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. They were the newcomers, the youngest species to reach the stars. The other races had been traveling space for thousands of years. They saw humans as children, noisy, unpredictable children who needed to be controlled. Hayes heard quick footsteps. He turned to see Alan Grant, his communications officer, rushing toward him. Grant's face was pale, his eyes wide with shock. "Sir," Grant said, his voice shaking, "we're getting emergency calls from New Montana Colony. They're under attack." Hayes felt a cold knot form in his stomach. "The ceasefire—" "Broken, sir," Grant cut in. "The Zilari battle fleet appeared from hyperspace 20 minutes ago. They've already destroyed the defense platforms. Thousands of colonists are dead." The ceasefire had been the aliens' idea. A show of good faith while the peace talks went on. Now Hayes understood. It had all been a trick. A way to keep Earth ships in one place while they attacked the colonies. Hayes pressed the ship-wide communication button on his wrist panel. His voice echoed through every room and corridor of the massive warship. "All personnel to battle stations. Immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Red warning lights flashed throughout the ship. Alarms blared. The crew ran to their posts, their faces grim but determined. Hayes marched into the conference room where the Zilari delegation waited. Ambassador Zexathul stood tall among his advisors. The alien's 4 arms were folded across his chest. His mandibles, the large jaw-like structures on his face, clicked slowly. The compound eyes that covered much of his head showed no emotion as Hayes entered. "Ambassador," Hayes said, his voice like ice, "would you care to explain why your ships are attacking our colony while you sit here talking about peace?" Zexthul's head tilted slightly. His translator device turned his clicking speech into flat, emotionless English. "A regrettable misunderstanding, I'm sure," the ambassador said. "Perhaps if humanity had been more reasonable in accepting our protection—" "Get off my ship," Hayes cut him off. "Now." The alien's mandibles clicked faster, a sign of anger. "Admiral Hayes," the translator spoke, "if you end these talks, the Concordate will have no choice but to consider humanity a threat to galactic stability. The consequences would be severe." Hayes stepped closer, looking directly into the alien's many eyes. "The talks are over," he said, "and you've badly misjudged what severe consequences really look like." He nodded to the 10 armed security officers who had entered behind him. The message was clear: leave willingly or be removed. As the aliens were escorted to their shuttle, Hayes went to his private communication room. He opened a secure channel to Earth. The serious face of President Diane Clark appeared on the screen. They attacked New Montana during peace talks, Hayes reported. Thousands dead. They're calling our bluff, Madam President. Clark's gray eyes hardened. She had spent her entire presidency trying to secure humanity's place among the stars. She had been patient, diplomatic, and fair. And it had all been thrown back in her face. Then it's time to show them we weren't bluffing at all, she said. You have authorization to implement Protocol Thunderclap. Hayes felt the weight of those words. Protocol Thunderclap was not just a military response. It was the unveiling of humanity's greatest secret, the technology and weapons they had hidden from the galaxy for decades while pretending to be less advanced than they truly were. Yes, Madam President, Hayes replied. As the alien shuttle departed from the deterrent, Hayes watched it through the viewport. Soon that shuttle would return to the Concordat fleet. Soon they would learn that humans were not the simple primitive species they had assumed. Lieutenant Miller returned to his side, awaiting orders. Send the message to all fleet commanders, Hayes told her. Authorization code. Phoenix Rising. Defensive positions are abandoned. We're going on the offensive. Miller's eyes widened slightly. All positions, sir? Even the Jupiter array? All of them, Hayes confirmed. The time for hiding our strength is over. Throughout human space, hidden bases began to power up. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels revealed their true nature. Weapon systems that no alien had ever seen before came online. The sleeping giant was waking. In the colony of New Montana, the surviving humans looked up at their burning sky as the Silari ships continued their attack. They didn't know that help was already on the way, help that would change the course of history. The peace talks had collapsed, and humanity's fury was about to shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The planet Keltar Prime glowed blue-green in the darkness of space. It was a major military base for the Galactic Concordat, with large shipyards and defense stations circling it like metal moons. The aliens who lived there went about their daily tasks, feeling safe behind their powerful weapons and strong shields. No enemy had ever dared to attack such an important Concordat world. Until today, space itself seemed to tear open as 5 human warships appeared from hyperspace. The largest ship, a carrier named USF Indomitable, moved into position above the planet. On its bridge, Captain Laura Bennett stood straight and calm as she gave her orders. Deploy all fighters, she said. Her voice was steady despite the weight of what they were about to do. Target their orbital defenses first, then the shipyards. The crew moved quickly, their hands flying over control panels. On the main screen, small dots began to spread out from the human ships, fighter craft heading toward the alien defenses. Lieutenant Greg Powell looked up from his station. Captain, we're picking up civilian transport ships in the area. Bennett nodded. Mark them clearly on all targeting systems, no civilian casualties. She turned to face her crew. We are not here to kill innocent people. We are here to show the Concordat that attacking human colonies has consequences. The human fighters streaked toward the alien stations. Unlike the bulky, heavily armored ships of the Concordat, human vessels were small, fast, and highly maneuverable. The aliens had always laughed at human ship design, calling the vessels fragile and weak. They weren't laughing now. Firing solution locked, Powell reported. Execute, Bennett commanded. The sky above Keltar Prime lit up with explosions as the human attack began. The alien defense stations, caught completely by surprise, had no time to power up their shields. Advanced human weapons, technology that Earth had kept hidden for decades, tore through the orbital platforms. Special electromagnetic pulse weapons disabled rather than destroyed civilian structures. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Bennett watched the battle unfold on her screens. The aliens were panicking, sending confused emergency signals across their communication networks. After 57 minutes, alien warships began to appear from hyperspace, a defense fleet 3 times larger than Bennett's force. They've taken the bait, she said quietly. Signal Vice Admiral Rodriguez. Phase 2 begins. 3 hyperspace jumps away, Vice Admiral Carlos Rodriguez waited with the first strike fleet. 20 human warships hovered in formation, their engines glowing bright against the blackness of space. When Bennett's signal arrived, Rodriguez stood from his command chair. "All ships," he ordered. "Execute jump to target Ursa. Hit them hard and fast." Ursa wasn't a military target like Keltar Prime. It was the Concordate's most important shipbuilding center, deep in what they considered safe space. No enemy had ever attacked so far into Concordate territory. The first strike fleet appeared directly above the Ursa shipyards. Before alarms could even sound, the human ships deployed their newest weapon, the disruptor grid. Massive energy fields expanded outward from the ships, washing over the shipyards below. The alien technology didn't explode or break apart. Instead, all electronic systems simply stopped working. The delicate equipment inside was permanently ruined. In just under 2 hours, humanity had destroyed the Concordate's ability to build new warships. "Sir," said Rodriguez's communications officer, "we're receiving hundreds of distress calls from Concordate worlds. They think they're under full-scale invasion across the entire galaxy." Rodriguez walked to the front viewport of his ship. He looked down at the disabled shipyards. "Good. Fear is a powerful weapon. But send this message on all frequencies. We could have killed thousands today. We chose not to. There's a difference between fury and cruelty." As his fleet prepared to leave, Rodriguez opened a secure channel to Earth. President Diane Clark's face appeared on the screen. "Phase 2 complete, Madam President," he reported. "The Concordate just lost 60% of their shipbuilding ability. We caused no casualties on either side." "And New Montana colony?" the President asked. "Our relief forces arrived an hour ago. The Concordate ships ran away when they realized what was happening elsewhere." Rodriguez paused, looking at the map of nearby star systems. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" "Yes," Clark replied firmly. "For too long, the Concordate has mistaken our patience for weakness, our desire for peace as fear. Prepare a system-wide broadcast channel. It's time." "I spoke directly to our people and to the galaxy." Rodriguez acknowledged the order, then turned back to look at the disabled shipyards through his viewport. For 200 years, humans had been newcomers to the galactic community. They had been treated like children, laughed at, and dismissed as primitive by the older alien races. That view of humanity had just been shattered forever. On dozens of worlds across the galaxy, confused and frightened alien leaders tried to understand what was happening. Emergency meetings were called. Defense fleets were scrambled. For the first time in living memory, the mighty Concordate felt something they had never expected to feel when dealing with humans: fear. On the Concordate homeworld of Zelaris, Supreme Counselor Vex Moore stared at the reports coming in from across their territory. His forearms trembled slightly as he turned to the science minister. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Their technology was assessed at barely Category 3. These weapons are at least Category 5 or 6. The science minister's mandibles clicked nervously. "We may have been deceived. Analysis suggests they've been hiding their true technological level for decades." "But why would they do that?" another counselor asked. No one had an answer. But as more reports arrived showing precise, targeted strikes against military installations across Concordate space, the truth became clear. Humanity had been preparing for this day for a very long time. Back on the USF Deterrent, Admiral Hayes received word from the front lines. "Sir," Lieutenant Miller reported, "the Concordate fleet is falling back in all sectors. They're retreating everywhere." Hayes nodded. "And the Zilari ambassador?" "He's requesting to speak with you urgently, sir. He says the Concordate is willing to discuss new terms." Hayes allowed himself a small smile. "Tell him I'll speak with him in 12 hours. Let them worry a little longer about what else we might have planned." Across human space, people who had feared extinction now watched in amazement as news spread of the Concordate's retreat. From colony worlds to Earth itself, humans gathered around screens to watch President Clark's address. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies," she began, her voice strong and clear. "Today we have shown the galaxy that humanity will not be bullied or threatened. For too long we have hidden our true strength while seeking peaceful relations. That patience has been mistaken for weakness. That ends today. The peace talks had collapsed, and the galaxy trembled as it discovered what humanity was truly capable of. President Diane Clark stood tall in the broadcast room of the Earth Government Center. The flags of Earth's United Nations hung behind her. Camera drones floated silently, recording her image to be sent across the stars. Her gray hair was neatly pinned back, and her blue uniform was crisp and clean. She looked directly into the main camera as she began to speak. To all citizens of Earth and her colonies, and to all species of the Galactic Concordat, she said in a strong, clear voice. Today marks a turning point in our shared history. For too long, humanity has sought peaceful relations while being met with lies and attacks. The recent attack on our new Montana colony during peace talks has forced us to reveal what we had hoped would never be necessary. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds watched as the broadcast showed footage of the precise human strikes against Concordat military bases. The aliens saw weapons and technology they never knew humans possessed. We did not want this conflict, Clark continued, but make no mistake, we are ready for it. What you have seen today is only a small part of humanity's true abilities. Abilities we have kept hidden while we tried to make peace. On the Concordat homeworld of Zolaris, the High Council gathered in an emergency meeting. The 12 most powerful alien leaders sat around a large stone table, their insect-like bodies tense with worry. They watched the human leader's speech, on a floating screen in the center of the room. "This is impossible," Supreme Counselor Vexmore said, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Their technology level was rated at barely Category 3. These weapons are at least Category 5. Science Minister Kazavul shifted nervously in his seat. "We have made a serious mistake in our judgment. Early analysis suggests their apparent technological lag was deliberate. They've been hiding their advancements for decades. But why would they do that?" another counselor asked, forearms gesturing in confusion. "Because we've been watching you for centuries before we ever made contact," came a voice from the doorway. The council members turned to see a human female standing there. Commander Nicole West of Earth Intelligence. She wore a simple black uniform with no visible weapons. Somehow she had entered their most secure meeting room without anyone detecting her. "How did you get in here?" Vexmore demanded. Security drones moved to surround the human intruder. West smiled slightly. "The same way we've been getting in here for the last 15 years. Your security systems are good, but they're designed to detect Concordat species. You never adjusted them to detect human biology." She walked calmly to the council table, showing no fear of the security drones. "I'm here to deliver a message directly from our leadership to yours. We want peace, but we no longer ask for it from a position of weakness. You have 2 days to remove all your forces from human space and agree to new talks as equals." At the same time, on dozens of other Concordat worlds, similar scenes played out as humanity revealed the true extent of its intelligence network. Humans appeared in secure locations, delivering the same message. What the aliens had dismissed as a simple backward species was suddenly everywhere, knowing everything. Back on the USF Deterrent, Admiral Hayes received an urgent message from the front lines. "Sir," Lieutenant Miller reported, "the Concordat fleet is pulling back in all areas. They're running away." Hayes nodded, not surprised. "And the Zilari ambassador?" "Asking to reopen talks, sir. He's very insistent." Hayes allowed himself a small smile. "Tell him I'll talk to him in 12 hours. Let them worry a little longer." Across human space, people who had feared destruction now watched in wonder as the mighty Concordat war machine retreated. What none of them knew, what only the highest levels of Earth's government understood, was that the displayed strength was not a bluff. If anything, it was an understatement. In a secret facility under the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Frank Coleman led President Clark through rows of experimental technology that would have amazed even the most advanced Concordat scientists. "This is just Site Alpha," Coleman explained as they walked past strange devices and glowing energy fields. "We have 3 other sites, each working on different types of technology." President Clark nodded, looking at everything carefully. "And the Jupiter array? Is it ready?" Completely ready, Coleman confirmed. Though I hope we never have to use it. The president's face was serious. So do I, Doctor. So do I. The Jupiter array was humanity's ultimate weapon, a system of satellites hiding behind the largest planet in the solar system. If activated, it could generate enough power to destroy an entire star system. It was a weapon built not to be used, but to ensure that humanity would never again be threatened. On the concorded homeworld, Supreme Counselor Vexmore met with his closest advisors in a small, secure room. The human, Commander West, had left hours ago, but her words still hung in the air. "How much do they know about us?" asked General Trasvel, the military leader. "Everything, it seems," replied Intelligence Director Zivkor. "We found human listening devices in all our major facilities. Some have been there for over a decade. They've been monitoring our communications, studying our technology, and mapping our defenses." "And we never detected them?" Vexmore asked in disbelief. "No," Zivkor admitted. "They used methods we didn't expect. While we looked for advanced technology, they used simple biological methods. They created special plants that react to sound waves and transmit data through natural processes. We thought they were just decorations." The counselors sat in stunned silence. For a species they had considered primitive, humans had shown remarkable cleverness. "What do we know about their Jupiter array?" Vexmore finally asked. Zivkor's mandibles clicked in fear. "Not much, but our long-range sensors detected an energy buildup in the Jupiter system that was concerning. If the readings are correct, they could potentially destroy an entire planet." "So, what do we do?" asked another counselor. Vexmore stood up slowly. "We do what they ask. We pull back our forces, we agree to new talks, and we reconsider everything we thought we knew about humans." Back on Earth, President Clark met with her top advisors. The mood was cautious but positive. Reports from across space showed concordant forces retreating from all human colonies. "It worked," said Defense Minister Paul Davis. "They're pulling back everywhere. New Montana is safe. All our colonies are safe." "For now," Clark said. "But this is just the beginning. We need to prepare for the real challenge." "Which is?" asked Foreign Minister Julia Wright. "Peace," Clark replied simply. "Winning a conflict is one thing. Building a lasting peace is much harder." Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The mighty Concordat, rulers of the stars for thousands of years, had backed down before the humans, a species that had only reached space 2 centuries ago. It was a shock that would change galactic politics forever. The peace talks had collapsed, but from their ashes, a new opportunity was rising, a chance for humanity to take its rightful place among the stars. The meeting room on Proxima Station hung in space between Earth and Alpha Centauri. It was neutral ground, not quite human territory, but not concordant space either. Large viewports showed the blackness of space and distant stars. The room itself was simple but impressive, with a long oval table made of real wood, a rare material in space. On one side of the table sat the Concordat delegation. Representatives from all 27 alien species were there, their bodies showing the amazing diversity of life in the galaxy. The insect-like Zilari with their many eyes and clicking mandibles. The floating Venth who lived as gas clouds inside, special containment suits. The tall, thin Zaru with skin that changed colors to match their emotions. All of them powerful races that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Across from them sat just 5 humans. Admiral John Hayes, President, Diane Clark, General Kevin Johnson, Ambassador Maria Garcia, and Dr. Frank Coleman. The human group looked strangely relaxed for a species that, until recently, had been considered unimportant. Supreme Counselor Vexmore's translator converted his clicking speech into clear English. "The Concordat acknowledges the misunderstandings that have occurred. We are prepared to discuss new terms for humanity's relationship with the galactic community." President Clark smiled politely. "Not misunderstandings, Counselor. Deliberate provocations based on a complete misjudgment of who and what humans are. Let's not start these new talks with old lies. The Venth representative's containment field glowed with agitation. You cannot expect thousands of years of concordant rules to be rewritten because one species objects to them. We don't expect it, Admiral Hayes replied calmly. We're simply informing you that the old rules no longer apply to humanity. You can keep whatever systems you wish among yourselves. A wave of nervous sounds went through the concordant delegation. The direct human way of speaking shocked species used to layers of polite diplomatic talk that often hid true meanings. Ambassador Garcia leaned forward. Let me be clear about what we're proposing. Humanity will establish a protected zone extending 5 light-years beyond all current and future human settlements. We will not interfere with concordant affairs beyond this zone. In return, the concordant will recognize human independence and stop all spying operations against Earth and her colonies. And if we find these terms unacceptable? The Zilari science minister asked. General Johnson, who had been silent until now, answered simply, then we walk away and enforce them anyway. A tense silence followed, broken finally by Vexmore. The human delegation will excuse us while we discuss these terms. When the concordant representatives had left the room, President Clark turned to her team. They'll accept. They have no choice. Hayes nodded. The question is what comes after. The galaxy's power structure has stood unchanged for thousands of years. We've changed everything in just 1 week. They'll adapt, Garcia said confidently. The concordant has survived this long because it knows how to bend rather than break. And once they realize we truly don't want their territories or resources, that all we ever wanted was to be left in peace, relations may actually improve. 2 hours later, the concordant delegation returned. Vexmore's compound eyes fixed on President Clark as he spoke. The concordant accepts humanity's proposal with one additional idea. We propose the creation of a new diplomatic system, neither human nor concordant, but a true galactic council where all species, regardless of technology level or military power, have equal voice. The human delegation looked at each other in surprise. This was unexpected. You would willingly give up concordant authority? Ambassador Garcia asked doubtfully. We would share it, Vexmore explained. Recent events have shown problems in our current system. Perhaps it is time for change. President Clark studied the alien carefully before answering. We would be open to discussing such a system, provided it truly means equality and mutual respect. For the first time in recorded history, a Silari performed a human gesture, extending what passed for a hand toward Clark. Then let us begin, again not as concordant and human, but as galactic neighbors with a shared future. As Clark accepted the gesture, Admiral Hayes leaned toward Dr. Coleman. Did you ever imagine it would end like this? He asked quietly. Coleman shook his head, slightly. Not an ending, Admiral, a beginning. Outside the windows of Proxima Station, ships from both fleets hung in space, still separate, still watchful, but no longer ready for war. Among them, civilian transport ships had begun to carefully restart trade routes, the lifeblood of any peaceful society flowing once more. 2 weeks later, on the colony world of New Montana, Admiral Hayes walked through the rebuilt Central Plaza. The damage from the concordant attack was being repaired. New buildings were rising where old ones had been destroyed. People moved about their daily business, looking forward rather than back. Lieutenant Miller walked beside him, reading from a datapad. The concordant has withdrawn from all human space as agreed. Their military ships are staying at least 6 light-years from our borders, more than the 5 we demanded. Hayes nodded. And the diplomatic talks? Going well, sir. The framework for the new Galactic Council is taking shape. 17 additional species have asked to join, smaller races that were dominated by the concordant for centuries. Hayes stopped at a memorial to those lost in the attack. Fresh flowers had been placed around it. And our military status? We're maintaining full alert, but there have been no threats detected. The concordant seems genuinely committed to the new arrangement. Miller hesitated. Some of our military leaders are pushing to reveal more of our advanced technology now, to strengthen our position. Hayes shook his head. No. We revealed enough to establish respect. Sometimes the possibility of what you might have is more powerful than showing everything. As they continued walking, Hayes looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, human and alien diplomats were creating a new system for galactic relations, one based on respect rather than fear or domination. On Earth, in her office in the government center, President Clark signed the final order deactivating Protocol Thunderclap. The Jupiter array would remain, hidden in secret but no longer on alert status. It was a calculated risk, but one she believed was worth taking. Sometimes, she said to her advisors, true strength is shown by knowing when not to use it. The new Galactic Council held its first formal meeting 1 month later, in a vast chamber built specifically for the purpose. Representatives from 52 species gathered to begin writing the laws that would govern interspecies relations. No one species had veto power. No one species controlled the agenda. It was a true democracy of worlds. Ambassador Garcia looked around the room with satisfaction. She caught the eye of Vexmore, now serving as the Zilari representative rather than as Supreme Counselor. He gave her a respectful nod. An interesting outcome, he said as he joined her during a break. Not what anyone expected when the peace talks collapsed. Sometimes, Garcia replied, the collapse of something old is necessary for the birth of something better. The peace talks had collapsed, but from their ruins, something stronger and far more meaningful had begun to emerge. A peace built not on control or fear but on mutual respect and the hard-won understanding that humanity's fury, once provoked, could indeed shake the galaxy. Yet it was humanity's restraint and victory, perhaps even more than its strength in conflict, that would ultimately reshape the stars.